Hello third grade, welcome back to another drawing video with Mr. McGill. Today we're going to be talking about using value to create a better piece of art, along with creating visual texture. Our inspiration today is going to be this picture here of an emu or an ostrich. And in looking at this, we should probably point out a few things that we should take notice of before we start. The first being the eyes. The face of this emu is really our focal point, which means that's what we're really concentrating on and we want the viewer to focus on. We can see that the eyes of this emu are really vibrant in color, and they don't have just one value of green. Value meaning how dark or light a color is. You can see that it's dark green and light green. That really makes the eyes pop out. You can also see that the beak is not just yellow, but a little bit of orange and yellow. The other thing that might be of interest to you, or something that you might want to focus on, would be the texture of this emu. If you notice, it looks really furry, and that has to do with the way that the marks on the paper were made. So today I'm going to make a lot of reference to this picture, and I want you to try your hardest to implement some of the things that I've just pointed out. Let's get started. Much like your assignment last time when we drew our hand giraffes, I want you to make sure that you're using the paper the long way. Don't turn it like this, turn it like this. That will help you maximize the space when making that nice long neck that ostriches or emus have. Next, what we're going to do is start with some simple shapes and placement. In order to get this bird where we want it, we really want to focus on drawing on the top half of the paper. We don't want to be very high, but we don't want to be in the middle or at the bottom. So somewhere around here. We're going to start with the beak, and I'm going to break it into some simple shapes and lines. The first thing we're going to do is just draw a line like this. I want you to imagine or place an imaginary line down the middle of the paper. So when I say imaginary, we're not actually drawing it, but we're going to pretend it's there. It may help you to fold your paper as well, but I would suggest just trying to imagine it being there, and you won't have to worry about having that big line down the middle of your paper. The reason why I want you to imagine that line is there is because whatever we're going to do on this side, we're going to do on this side as well. And you'll see what I mean when we get started. So to draw the beak, what we're going to do is go down and out. Down and out. So right now it kind of looks like a hat of sorts. The next thing we're going to do is curve it in. So we're going to go over here and curve it in. The last thing we need to do for the beak is just to go down and back up. Now we have kind of his pointy beak here, and we need to add another line for his mouth. There's a couple different ways you can make the mouth. This way is one, and you can also, if you want to, make this line touch that one and then come back. And it's completely up to you. Just to avoid having too many lines on my paper, I'm going to leave it like that. To make the nostrils, we're just going to make two dark lines, or you can make a skinny raindrop, whichever one you want. Now that we have this curve here and curve here, we're going to use those curves to show us where to put our eyes. And we're going to follow that curve up and make a big circle. Okay, so we're going to follow that curve up and make a big circle. Notice I'm Continuously moving my hand, making those eyes nice and big. Now I'm going to place another circle inside of those circles. That's a little bit smaller. Kind of looks like he's got glasses on right now. And then another circle, smaller still, inside those. And that's going to be our reflection. The next thing we're going to do is draw the neck. And we're going to use a nice light line. So I'm just going to draw a curved line like that, and then another one kind of similar. Okay. So I kind of curve it in a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're actually going to be covering it in a lot of fur, like this guy here. If you have colored pencils or markers or crayons at home, the first step should be to color in your pupil nice and dark. We're going to skip the little circle that's on the inside because, again, that's the reflection of his glossy eye, and so we're going to move around that. I'm using a colored pencil. Of course, you can use whatever you have at home. All right, for the purpose of time, I'm just going to quickly move along. You want to color those nice and dark, so maybe a marker might be the best fit for that, okay? I think for the eyes, I'm going to stick with green again. Actually, I think I'm going to do red and orange. Or maybe, yeah, red. I'll do red. So you may have a set that has two different values of red, or you may just have one red. You can do this with either one. Since many of you will probably have at least one, I'm just going to do it with that, but I will explain how you can use the other one. When we create different values, we need to make sure that we are changing how hard we're pushing on our pencils or our crayons. So for this first part, I'm going to go around the pupil, and I'm going to push nice and hard. You can see that I'm really focusing on pushing down on my pencil, and it's coming out nice and dark red. I'm also not filling the whole eye. So I'm just going around the pupil and making a ring. Next thing I'm going to do is start getting a little bit lighter. So now I'm just going to color it and fill it in, but you can see that I'm not pushing as hard. This change of value is going to make the eye look a lot better. Now that you have that done, you can go ahead and move on to the next eye. If you have two colors, you may want to try this. Take your darker of the two colors and make your ring. Now that I have this ring, you can see how much darker it really is than the first one. If you decided to do this, I would go back and try and make this one dark as well. Otherwise, the two eyes are going to look much different. Now, it may be hard, if you can see here, to do that once you filled it in with so much colored pencil. Now, go back and fill the eye with your other red. We didn't change the color, just the value, how dark the color was. So now that the eyes are done, we're ready to work on the beak before we start with the hair. The beak you can simply fill in yellow to start. You can see I'm just using a yellow crayon. So whatever you have at home will be fine. If you're using marker, it may be a little bit tricky because markers are awfully dark and they sometimes don't blend well. Now that I have the beak yellow, I'm going to go back with some yellow orange or an orange, and I'm going to go under the eyes, around the nostrils, and definitely along the bottom part of the mouth. I can also very lightly come in the beak just a little bit, leaving the middle part and this upper part nice light yellow. You can see that that makes the beak look a lot more rounded, and again, just shows you how value can make things look just a little bit better. Now that we have the eyes and the beak done, it's time to do the visual texture. I strongly suggest using a crayon, although if you don't have any at home and colored pencils are the only thing you have, you'll just have to make some extra marks. For this emu, I think I'm going to switch the color. We had this one blue and black, and I think I'm going to make this one purple. So I'm going to find my purple crayon. Actually, I think I'll make him green. Yeah, I think I like green instead. So I want you to take the lightest color that you have. I have 2 greens, so I'm going to use the light green. And I want you to work with just lines. So you can see that I am just making short strokes, and I'm going out away from the top of the head. I'm going up the head and out over the eyes. It is very important that you're not just scribbling, that you're really focusing on making lines and going in this direction. Now I'm going to work under the eye. Again, I'm always going out from the face, never in towards the face, because you don't want to get all of your crayon in the wrong spot. You're going to work down and around the bottom of the beak, always working out away from your emu or your ostrich. Now, this is very important not only for the mark making, which is making these little lines, but we can also add value to this and get it to look even more like fur, okay? And that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create the appearance of a furry bird. So now I'm going to go down my neck, and I don't care about staying inside the lines. I actually want to go outside them to make it furry, as well as continue down the neck. Once I've done this for quite a bit, you can see it's taken me awfully long time. I'm going to now grab my dark And I'm going to go back and put some dark in. And I don't have to do this as much now because this emu's got so much fur. I just want to accent and throw some different values of green in there. Notice I keep using the word value, okay? Really important. So this visual texture is now really coming alive. And there you have it, an emu. You can even go back with some black and throw just a little bit in here and there. You can even use black for maybe some eyelashes or under the eyes. Make them look more evil. That's up to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this and you learned a little bit about visual texture and using value to make an art really pop.